Hello and welcome back to my book channel, Kylie's Book Quirks. Today I'm going to be running you through my September wrap up. So for September, I read 19 books, which is a little more than average for me. I was trying to catch up to my reading goal. I'm still a bit behind. But first off, before I forget, important links down below. Please check those out if you can. Also, I have other socials linked down below if you want to follow me there. So first off, I read Jurassic Park. I think I finished it at the very beginning of August. So I had read it more in July, but I finished it in August. Jurassic Park the movie is based off of the book by Michael Crichton. It's basically the same plot where you have this theme park with dinosaurs and genetics, and I thought the science was really cool. I will have a review series on the Jurassic Park series, like the duology, coming out probably in the next week. So, next I reread House of Salt and Sorrows by, I believe it's Erin Craig. So that is more of like a thriller, like suspense, like mind twisting sort of book. I really enjoyed rereading that one, and I'm glad that it didn't, suck reading it the second time, because sometimes with some books I feel like when you read it the second time it takes away a lot of what you had wanted to see. But next I also reread We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah Faizal, and I loved actually reading a physical copy of the book compared to listening to it on audiobook. I do have the second book checked out and am currently reading it. It's very long. So I'm reading it as an ebook form, and I saw the actual physical hardcover copy at Barnes & Noble the other day, and I was like astounded at how big it was. So I don't know when I'll finish that, hopefully in the month of September, but we'll see. I'm back in school and things are a little busy. But I really loved reading the physical copy of the book, and I think that it was very interesting, and I loved the pace and just how everything kept going. I really love Zafira's character, and I love seeing her grow, and I'm really excited to see how her and Nazir will continue their relationship in book 2. Next, I also reread Heartless by Marissa Meyer, and if you don't know what that is a sort of origin story for the Queen of Hearts. So a lot of the world building relies on having known or read Alice in Wonderland beforehand. Honestly, I think that the love interest, Jess, I think he's very interesting, but I also think that by the end of the book, he's sort of diminished in importance. At the very beginning of the book, I thought he was going to be like a much more prominent character. The last time I had read Heartless was probably 7th or 8th grade, back when it like probably originally came out. I do like Catherine's character, and I think it's really interesting seeing her change as a character. So, yeah. I remember the first time I read it, it made me cry. The second time, I guess, like, you could sort of tell it was coming. Jess just sort of lost importance, and so I think as a character, I just sort of lost a connection with him. Next, I reread Sky in the Deep, which I have done a review about if you want to go check that out. It's by Adrienne Young. It's a Viking series that's like enemies to lovers that I first read when it came out a couple years ago. I really enjoyed rereading it. It's definitely more of a middle grade novel, but I loved it. Then I read Punk 57. I believe it's by Penelope Douglas. That was my first of her books. I really enjoyed it, except I just think that her books, like, I can handle one at a time and then I need a break. They're definitely heavier. I believe it's more of adult fiction. But I really enjoyed her writing style and how she sort of portrays that, like, humans are just sort of messed up, and that's just how her characters are, and they're brutally honest. So I enjoyed that part of her writing. Next, I read Punk 50. Oh, wait, no, I already said that. I read Verity by Colleen Hoover, and that completely threw me through, like, the ringer. And I really enjoyed the storytelling and the plot twist, and once I started it, I could not put it down. And I think that the writing was really well done, as well as sort of just the mystery element of it all, and just wanting to know what happens next. Next, I read Neon Gods, and so that's a um, like Greek mythology retelling book with Hades and Persephone, and I gotta say, I was actually sort of disappointed with it. Mostly because of how the novel was set up, just sort of the premise. I did like the idea that there's this like sort of world or like city similar to like a normal city that we see every day, except the 12 Olympians sort of rule over it. Except these are like positions that are filled. So like once somebody dies, then like their son comes and takes the spot. It's like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, I didn't really like the rest of the story after that, just sort of the premise of um like for example, Demeter had a daughter named Persephone, correct? But she also had another daughter named Clytemnestra, and I know that it's not keeping straight to the Greek myths. And I think that definitely we shouldn't expect them to, but for me I just didn't like how it was done. Just because like Clytemnestra, like it makes me think of the other stories, and I think that if you were gonna stray from the original Greek myths, then you can stray more than just taking random names and renaming characters in your story. I don't think I made any sense saying that, but I'm sorry. After that, I read To Have and to Hoax, which is sort of like a Regency era piece. I very honestly thought it was boring. I am going to read the second book though, because I have heard that that one's better, and I've heard that that one is more like Enemies to Lovers, and it has like better writing, etc. So I'm going to give that a chance, and I'm crossing my fingers hoping I'll enjoy it more, because I think the concept of it sounds really good. After that, I read Punching in the Air, which is a really moving story about this young black man who is incarcerated for a crime that he didn't commit, and it's sort of his story telling about how he's trying to get out and like not being able to get help but still trying to find help, and his growth as a character and sort of his faith in himself and in his family. And I think that it was really moving poetry that the author wrote, and just sort of her word choice. And it's also based off of a true story and co-written with two authors whose names I don't remember off the top of my head. But I really enjoyed their writing, and I think that they captured the story so well and so honestly and truthfully, just with those raw emotions. And next after that, I finally finished The Code for Love and Heartbreak, which is a Emma by Jane Austen retelling. And it was cute, but it wasn't really my speed, I think. One, it was a little slow. Two, I'm not like a big like contemporary high school romance reader. That's just not my thing. So I didn't love it as I think somebody who would like high school contemporary romance would. But I still think it was a fun spin on the original story. After that, I read The Girl the Sea Gave Back, which is the sequel to Sky in the Deep, and I honestly hated the sequel, like, terribly. If you want more on that, you can go check out my other review. I go in depth. After that, I read Outlander by Diana Galbatron, I think. Needless to say, I am not the age demographic for that novel. It is definitely for middle-aged women who are unhappy in their marriages or like wish they were doing something else, because I was reading it and I was like, okay. Like the romance for me, I was like, I mean, they're cute, but it's not my thing. So, I don't know. I'm currently reading the second one. It's like almost 1,000 pages. I don't know if I'm actually going to finish it. We'll see what happens. But hopefully, well, I'll get through it eventually. I'm in the middle of reading like 15 books right now. After that, I read The Lost World by Michael Crichton, which is the second novel in the Jurassic Park duology. That follows the story of one of the other main characters, Ian Malcolm. I definitely enjoyed it. I think the way that Michael Crichton writes is that it's more to like, he has a point or something he's trying to get across. And it's less of like building characters or plot or expansion on relationships. It's more of like, this is the point I'm trying to get across and this is my analogy for it. And anything outside what is like essential for me telling you this point and like explaining it isn't necessary. So like romance, Ian and like Dr. Sarah Harding, they sort of had something going on, but it's like very behind the scenes and you can't really tell because Michael Crichton like tells you nothing about it. But yeah. I still think that his writing is very good and he has those really strong points that he's getting across, but I think that the novels would be like so much better if he expanded, you know, what he was saying and gave you this fuller world. After that, I read Dead Deep by Justin Sompers, which is a novella for the Vampirate series, which I'm currently reading the third book for. It was just like 60 pages, real short story. I don't really have any thoughts on it. After that, I read Corrupt. I think that was another Penelope Douglas book. I gotta be completely honest, I didn't really enjoy it. Once again, I just don't think it's my style, so I will not be reading the rest of the series, but it was a good book to just try, I guess. After that, I did read Luck of the Titanic, which it follows a young Chinese girl on the Titanic as it sinks, and sort of her family and the other Chinese sailors on the Titanic, and it has this other narrative of the usually like whitewashed and like classist Titanic story that's told. So it gives you like a completely different side of history, and I loved it, and I think that the writing was very good, especially when you add in sort of that element of 1920s fashion and like culture and just sort of what was the big thing back then, and I think it was really cool. And then after that, I read A Swim in the Pond in the Rain by George Saunders. That was my summer reading book that I finished like barely before school started. It is basically like 7 essays on 7 different Russian stories, like short stories, and sort of the different things you can learn from those short stories. I think that there were moments that I enjoyed, but I also think that George Saunders was like, I didn't know if I completely loved his credentials. To me, from what he told us, it felt like he was just like, I know what I'm doing, here's why, but don't listen to anybody else. These are my credentials, just trust me. I don't know. It just, like, he had a couple good points, but I also feel like those are just normal things I feel like an English teacher would tell me. I don't know if he did anything, like, revolutionary. So, I don't know about that one. And then, lastly, I read Beach Read by Emily Henry, which my friend told me to read, and I adored it. It was definitely very cute, and I really liked the growth of the 2 main characters, and sort of how they learned and found themselves and like found love in each other, and I think it was just really cute. So yeah, those are all 29 books that or 19, not 29, all 19 books that I read this month. They were very good, very interesting. Hopefully I'll be able to finally like fix my summer reading thing and get ahead of it, or my reading goal for 2021 and get ahead of it. I still have 2 summer reading books that I have to finish, even though school started like a week ago. So I will be reading those this week. So here's to hoping I can do that. Anyways, I hope you all have a good rest of your week, and hopefully if you guys are back at school, everything's going well for you, and I will see you next time.